If you were here this week, they were banging, banging, banging on the roof. They were hitting it with hammers. They were doing all kinds of stuff. There was nonstop noise in here all week, and so this building is what, 45 years old? So it could be anything at this point, right? So anyways, we'll get those lighting issues resolved, and hopefully all of this stuff will be able to light up next Sunday to get the full Christmas effect here in our sanctuary. Well, if you were here with us last week, we started a new series. We started this new series on gifts, and we entitled this series The Gift Exchange, and what we're talking about here in this series is a few things, a few gifts that Jesus wants to come and exchange in our life. There's things that we've got, there's things that we've inherited, there's things that are part of our life. There's these bad, ugly gifts like we've gotten. It's like the really ugly sweater that we got one year for Christmas. Man, they know how to make ugly sweaters now. Back in the day it was like you had to go and make your own ugly sweater. Now you can go anywhere and find some ugly, inappropriate sweaters that you can wear at Christmas time, and some of them are really inappropriate. But it's like those gifts, you want to see that, you open that, and you're going to want to take that back and exchange it. I hope you would anyway. I don't know. Some of you, is everybody okay? I'm kind of getting like blank stares. Huh? I can see you. I can see you, Millie. I got you back there, all right? Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're just going to look at a few of these gifts that when Jesus came, he helped exchange those. And last week, the first thing we started off with was Jesus exchanging our worry for peace, okay? And worry is at an epidemic proportions in this country. We worry about so much, especially at this time of the year, and worry and anxiety can actually cause us to mentally and physically shut down. And so what we looked at last week was the things that we needed to do, how Jesus exchanges our gift of worry. And we were in the Sermon on the Mount last week. We were in Matthew chapter 6, verses 25 through 34, because in that section Jesus says, hey, listen, don't worry about your life. Don't worry about what's going on in your life. There's no aspect of it you should be worried about. And what he said was basically, worrying is incompatible with our faith. Worrying about things is incompatible with our faith. It's unnatural. He told us that nothing else in all of creation worries, right? You look at the grass, it doesn't worry. The birds don't worry. The palm trees out in front of our church don't worry. The ground doesn't worry. Nothing else worries. The alligator that sometimes appears in our ditch out front, they are never worrying. But we constantly worry about everything. And this all started back in the Garden of Eden. When you have Adam and Eve and they sinned and they fell, and what's the first thing they do is they worry about being naked. That's the first thing. They get worry in their heart and they worry about being naked, and so that's where worry starts. And so it's just unnatural, though, and that none of creation worries about those things. The second thing Jesus tells us about worry is that it is unhelpful. Why is it unhelpful? Because worrying about stuff doesn't take care of the problem. It usually creates more. Okay? Worrying about our relationship doesn't change anything about that relationship, whether it's our marriage or our family, our coworkers, our friends. Worrying about any of those things does not change the relationship. Worrying about our job doesn't impact our ability to do our job. Well, actually, it can in a negative way, but it doesn't change anything about your job when you're worrying about it. See, we're not going to come up to all of the solutions to all of the problems and the situations at life when we lay awake at night thinking about them. It just doesn't solve our problems. Worrying about our finances is not going to help us make ends meet. It's not going to pay bills or provide for what we need. Now, that's not saying that you shouldn't be wise in your finances, but what we're saying is when things get kind of crazy and you spend all your time worrying about stuff, it's not going to help in the first place anyway, so why even bother doing it? It doesn't affect your future. It doesn't affect your children. So many parents worry about their kids and what college they're going to get into and what job they're going to have, and are they going to make enough money, and are they going to do this, and are they going to do that? And worrying about that stuff in your kid's life is never going to help your kids become does nothing other than stress you out. Then the last thing that we saw that Jesus says about worry is that it reflects a huge lack of faith. And what we saw was faith was defined, and we looked at it in Hebrews, and it says, God, my brain is just not working this morning, It's being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. And when you hear that definition, it doesn't sound very clear, because if you're sure of what you're hoped for, then that means that everything that you hope for should come true. And if it doesn't, that either means God is not real or faith is not real. And that's not what it's talking about. When those words are spoken in the book of Hebrews, what is actually meant there is the promises that God has made. He says that you can stand on the promises I've made. You can be sure in what you hope for, because I am faithful, because I am true, and I am going to follow through. You don't have to worry about it. And see, when we fail to trust the promises of God, we're actually failing to trust God in our lives. We're saying, God, you know what? Yeah, you say you got this, but I don't think you do, and so I got this. And that is a terrible place to be in, because when we take control of everything, how many of us mess things up when we take control? I know I do. And so worrying about it, worrying about all these things, worrying about the things God has already promised us, doesn't do anything for us and actually destroys our faith. So how do we exchange all of this worry for peace? The first way is to let Jesus be king in our life. What does that mean? It means Jesus needs to rule over every aspect of our lives. See, so often we let Jesus have certain parts, and then we keep certain parts, and I take care of these parts over here, and Jesus takes care of these parts over here. And that's not how the life that God has called us to live. That's not the calling of Jesus. Jesus says, surrender it all to me. So all of this stuff that we have over here, that we like to keep, that we like to control, we got to move it on over here and give it to Jesus and let him have total control of our life and take care of even the day-to-day issues and stuff that we face. The second thing, and it comes from the text, is that we need to live one day at a time. Okay, and that's wasn't there a TV show called One Day at a Time? And there's a song. Yeah, sorry, I got those things. I was all of a sudden like, oh, there was a TV show, One Day at a Time, and then the song, One Day at a Time. Nobody know that song? Okay, all right, I don't know. We need to worry about today only, because tomorrow and the next day and a week from now, we don't know what those are going to hold. We have expectation on what's going to happen, but most of the time, what we expect, what we think, doesn't actually happen, does it? I mean, I gave those stats last Sunday of how when you look at the percentages, 85% of the things in the future that we worry about don't actually happen the way that we think they are. Another 12% doesn't, or 85% doesn't happen, 12% doesn't happen the way we think it's gonna, and only 3% actually happens. And so we spend so much of our time worrying about the 3%, and let's not do that. Let's not focus on tomorrow, the next day, the next day, or the next day. Let's focus on what God has for us here, today, and now. Then finally, we need to lean on the faithfulness of God. How do we do that? There's two ways. First, by taking these worries and speaking to God about them. Have a troubling conversation or meeting coming up, talk to God about it. You know, you've got a difficult situation that you're going to face. Talk to God about it. You've got issues at work. Talk to God about it. You've got problems in your finances. Talk to God about it. Instead of worrying about it, let's take it to God. Ask him to be there in the midst of the situation, because that's what we need in every situation. And as we go through our day and as we worry about things, if instead of holding on to them and trying to figure them out and processing them through our brain and spinning on our brain, going over and over these things, if we instead stop and pray and make that a habit instead of worry a habit, it switches our brain, and our brain is changed, and suddenly we're rewired to pray when we face those situations instead of worrying about them. And then the second thing was we need to be thankful to God for what he has done. Thankfulness, thankfulness, thankfulness. So important in our lives. And can change our perspective and our attitude about so many things when we're thankful about the here and now. Okay, so that was last week's message. And so this Sunday, what are we going to do? We are going to exchange our hurt for healing. We're going to turn to the New Testament. We're going to be in the book of Acts to see this exchange. I know I talked about this several months ago, this passage. We're going to look at it from a little bit of a different angle. The book of Acts, it's the story of the early church. Jesus rose, and then the early church started in Jerusalem and began to spread. And this is kind of the story from their perspective of what transpired, what took place right after Jesus' resurrection. And you find it, it's the 5th book of the New Testament, Mark, Matthew, Luke, John. And so if you have a Bible and would like to turn there, or you have a Bible app on your phone, please feel free to go ahead and open that up and turn there. And if not, if you don't know where to find it or you don't have a Bible, it's all right. I'm going to have it on the screen behind me for you to follow along. And I'm going to be reading from the English Standard Version. And this is what it says there in our text. Now Peter and John were going up to the temple at the hour of prayer, the 9th hour. And a man lame from birth was being carried, whom they laid daily at the gate of the temple that is called Beautiful Gate, to ask alms of those entering the temple. Seeing Peter and John about to go into the temple, he asked to receive alms. And Peter directed his gaze at him, as did John, and said, "Look at us." And he fixed his attention on them, expecting to receive something from them. But Peter said, "I have no silver or gold, but what I do have I give to you. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk." And he took him by the right hand and raised him up, and immediately his feet and his ankles were made strong. And leaping up, he stood and began to walk, and entered the temple with them, walking and leaping and praising God. And all the people saw him walking and praising God, and recognized him as the one who sat at the beautiful gate of the temple, asking for alms. And they were filled with wonder and amazement at what had happened to him. While he clung to Peter and John, all the people, utterly astounded, ran together to them in the portico called Solomon's. All right, so Peter and John, they're at the temple one afternoon, and they're showing up there for prayer. And that's one of the things that the early church did, was they followed the regular Jewish customs of showing up to the temple for prayer. And so Peter and John are going up to the temple, and as they're walking up to the temple, there's this man who's sitting there, who's begging alms. And basically, he was just asking for money. It was like any sort of homeless person that we would see today sitting on the side of the road or whatever. He was just asking for money from the people who were going into the temple. And so Peter and John, they notice him, and they fix their gaze on him. And so this man is probably thinking to himself, "Sweet, bro's going to hook me up with a little bit of money. I'm going to be able to go to McDonald's after this is over with and grab myself a Big Mac and some fries and maybe a milkshake." And so he's really excited about what's about to happen. Instead, though, Peter stops and says, "No, we don't have any money." But he reaches out to the man. He takes the man by the hand, and he says, "In the name of Jesus, walk." And instantly, this man stands up, and his body is healed. And healing has taken place. Okay, and we can see the physical aspect of this healing there. But more than a physical healing took place in this man's body, there were several layers of healing that went on with them. And so that's what I want to explore this morning. That was healed, and what do we know from him about these events that we read? What is more specific to this individual? And the first thing that we know is that he was crippled from birth. And this is important to understand. And why is that? Because see, at the time, what the religious leaders believed was that if you were born crippled, there was obviously some sin somewhere in someone's life close to the situation. Okay, either their mother or their father were sinful, or the individual themselves was sinful. And how, I don't understand it, how a baby can be born and commit sin right out of the womb. I can't wrap my brain around that one, but this is what they thought at the time. God was punishing the family because of sin. The disciples and Jesus had a conversation about this in John chapter 9, and Jesus makes it very clear in there. The disciples say, who sinned, the kid or the parents, that this kid was born blind? And Jesus said it was neither the parents or the child. It was done for the glory of God. You may be saying to yourself, why is this important to know what's going on here? Why is this important to know? Because most of the people that passed him every day as he walked out there begging also believed that he or his parents were wicked, sinful people with no hope for forgiveness. They wanted nothing to do with him. They had a term for people who were born in this iniquity and this sin and who had gotten their lives contaminated by the sinfulness of this world, and that word was unclean. And when a person was unclean during that time, what that meant was nobody could even touch them. Why couldn't they touch them? Because that sinfulness, that uncleanness would then rub off on you if you put your hand on this individual's body. Think about that. Think of it if it was still like that today. We would be everybody you shook hands with. How many of us would ever be clean at some point? Because it's like we just have contact with so many people who are not walking with God. But they had an extra level to this, and this is the scary part. Okay, when you were unclean back then, and it was part of your body, like he had some sort of handicap, some sort of deformity, he had to walk around telling everybody he was unclean just so nobody would touch him. Could you imagine going to Walmart and walking down the aisles having to yell unclean to everybody who comes near you? Could you imagine going to the Mulberry Christmas parade that's going to happen in a couple of weeks and having to walk through the crowd yelling unclean, unclean, just so that everyone would clear a path? Had in his life. Think about the religious trauma that was his in this situation. It would be so hard to live your life like this, where not even your own family members would want to have contact with you or touch you because you were unclean. His family, it seemed, abandoned him. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have been out on the streets begging. What would that do to somebody emotionally? We'd be an emotional wreck if that was our life. If society was still like that today, it would be so hard to imagine. We already have enough suicides in this world, but having some sort of situation like that, I can only imagine it would push the suicide rate higher. This man had serious emotional wounds from something that was beyond his control. And then I can also imagine that he had some sort of religious wounds from this, because here he is, the men and women of God ignoring him, pushing him away, not wanting to do anything for him because he was born handicapped. The man had probably not had anyone touch him in years. And here he is sitting there on the ground asking for money. And the first healing that happens is when Peter reaches out and touches the man's hand. Could you imagine what that would feel like? Not experiencing human touch in years, possibly decades, and somebody finally reaches out and touches your hand. It had to have been transformational for him. It brought healing to him emotionally, because somebody, a man of God, somebody who claimed to be a person of faith, was reaching out and touching him and touching his hands. It broke so much in him that we saw in verse 11 what happens is he was clinging to Peter. He was holding on to Peter, because I'm sure he hadn't hugged anyone in decades. And this was the first healing that this man received. The emotional healing through Peter reaching out his hand and touching him. Years of emotional trauma were healed in him. And I believe that there's some in here that need to exchange their emotional hurt for healing as well. There's been trauma in your life, and it has left emotional pain. And that emotional pain has become something that has defined your life. Maybe when you were a kid, you grew up in a home with a parent or parents, maybe family members that had issues with addiction, and those addictions led to all sorts of issues in the homes. And you know, when parents were doing their thing, it led to abusive situations, it led to difficult situations, it led to hurt and pain. You had to go to school and hide the marks that were maybe left on your body because of what happened in your home. The marks and the bruises are now gone, but the emotional scars are still there. Jesus wants to take those. Maybe they didn't physically hurt you, but maybe your parents spent all their money on drugs and alcohol, and so when it came time to eat, there was never any food in the house. And so you either had to go to bed hungry, you had to go knock on a neighbor's door to get food, or maybe even go to the local convenience store and steal something to eat. It's left with emotional hurt from the neglect. It could be you were abused sexually. It could be you were abused physically. And stuff that should have never happened to a child happened to you. And you've recovered physically for it, but the scars still remain and the emotional wounds still remain today. Jesus wants to take and heal those. Some of you, it's emotional damage. It's not physical damage. You had an abusive spouse. You had an abusive boyfriend or girlfriend. You were betrayed by someone closest to you. You were bullied in school or online. But just whatever it is, you can insert it right here. And for many people, those emotional wounds keep making them think they're never going to go anywhere. It weighs your life down and keeps you from so many things. But this is the deal. Jesus wants to exchange the pain and the hurt from healing. Jesus can come in and in a moment take and heal those wounds. But even deeper than that, there's maybe some of you in here who have some religious wounds. Maybe you grew up in a church that was controlling and abusive. Maybe the spiritual authority that they placed on people in those churches was a manipulative. And your years of church from when you were younger is a struggle, and it's left scars on you. Jesus can heal those as well. The second type of healing we see here is physical healing. The man, as we already mentioned, was crippled. He couldn't walk. Every day this man was carried out to the gate to beg. I mean, hey, at least they were nice enough to carry him out, right? But once again, he'd been that way since birth. But then came Peter and John, and with the name of Jesus, they spoke a word, and this man's body, who had been crippled, who had been, atrophied, whatever happens, in a moment, that hand was reached out, all of that was strengthened, and the man was able to stand up. A sickness the doctor said he would never recover from, a disease that had no cure, but God made a gift exchange and took the gift of pain and left the gift of healing. And there's some of you in here today that in your bodies you carry around each and every day of your life physical pain that needs healing. You've been living with it for a long time, maybe even since birth. And you think there's no hope for what you face. The doctors have told you that your sickness, your disease is incurable. And so you were told you just need to go home and get your things in order because your time is going to be here. It's going to be coming sooner rather than later. It could be you were in an accident or something happened at work and you've been living with pain ever since and it's unbearable. You want it to go away, but it doesn't. Guess what? There's a child born in Bethlehem a little over 2,000 years ago that is able to exchange that gift for you. Kohl's may not take back a gift that's 2,000 years old, but Jesus is in the gift exchange business. And he's able to take that gift back and exchange it for healing. Now, we do have to go on a little rabbit trail with this one because healing from sickness is a hard subject to talk about, and this is why. Because you pray for someone and not everyone is healed, right? We could all go and find people who've been sick and who've come forward and who we've laid hands on and we've prayed for, and they are still in the same position as they were before nothing happened. And so it causes doubt to roll in, and it causes us to really, do we even believe that Jesus can heal? Because if he can heal, why didn't he heal me? We have to remember is that when Jesus walked this earth, he didn't heal everyone he came in contact with. There's thousands of people that he passed that were in the same position as this man that we just looked at this morning, and none of them were healed. But Jesus healed this one. And it's something that we just can't say, okay, Jesus will heal you, but not you, but not you. We don't know. We don't know who Jesus is going to heal. But see, here's the thing. With us, with our bodies, we have a limited time in these bodies. Okay? And a day is going to come when we are going to be transformed and we are going to get rid of these bodies and we are going to step into heaven and get brand new bodies that are never susceptible to sickness, to illness, to pain, to any of those sorts of things, and this body will be gone. So you may have to suffer longer than some others do. And I don't know what to say to that. But here's the thing, one day you are going to be healed. It's not just a maybe, it's a great gift exchange that's going to happen when we pass from this life into our eternal life, and we can stand confidently in eternity knowing that we're not going to have to deal with that illness anymore and we're going to be completely healed. Then finally, the third gift of healing that Jesus exchanges is spiritual hurt for healing. I mean, really, we're all broken spiritually. And that's ultimately the gift that Jesus came to exchange. He wants us to be whole. He wants us to be free. He wants us to connect in relationship with him. See, God's plan for our life isn't that we spend it far separated from him, okay? But that's what so many people do. They live their life, they do their thing, and it just pushes them further and further and further away from God, leaving them more desperate in need of spiritual healing. And what a lot of people will do is they'll just look at their lives and they'll say, man, well, I got a pretty good life though. I've got a good job, I make good money, I got a nice house, I've got a nice family, I've got nice cars, I've got all this nice stuff, I take nice vacations, nice, and I just enjoy everything about living life. That's not a sick person. Here's the deal. It's not a question of how great you perceive your life to be. It's a question of how great does God perceive your life to be. Because really, that's the only question that we should be answering is how great does God see your life through his eyes, through what he wants from them. He doesn't want us to look through our eyes and look at the rest of the world and compare us with the rest of the world and say, hey, compared to 95% of this world, I'm doing pretty good. Guess what? It doesn't matter. God's not going to have you stand before him and say, okay, let's see. You had a much better life than 95% of the world. Come on in. No, he's going to say, he's going to ask, did you put your life in my hands and allow me to lead and guide and direct you? And we get this spiritual healing by surrendering our life to Jesus. It's another gift exchange that he makes. He takes the death in us and gives us life. So, I'm torn. We're going to have the worship team come up. You can, thank you. So here's the I got to tell, so story from Monday. I've been debating whether or not to tell this story because I really, okay, so Monday had our food distribution, and I had gone, I can't remember, I'd gone to pick Dana's car up from the shop. And I drove in, and as I drove in, I was walking out front, and Leo was over here with a guy on the ground, right? And he did not look good. And so I come over there because I'm a certified basic life support, so I know how to do all that fun stuff, And so I come over, and I take the guy, and I lay him down, and, I'm just monitoring his pulse and his breathing because he was clammy, he was cool, he was breathing really funny, and it seemed like his heart was beating funny, so I was monitoring his pulse, monitoring his breath. And so we're watching. Leo's praying. There's another lady who came over and was praying. And I've got my hands on this man, just watching his stuff. And all of a sudden I'm like, he doesn't have a pulse. So he stops breathing. He doesn't have a pulse. He's laying there motionless. So I was going to give it 30 seconds because you don't want to do chest compressions on somebody who doesn't need them because you can really hurt them. And so we're waiting 30 seconds. And so as we were waiting, I took the man's head and I was tilting it back so that so that his airway would be clear so that I could do CPR. And as I tilt his head back, all of a sudden he just goes, and his heart started beating again. I don't know if he was dead. I don't know the story, but we had people out there praying. Leo was praying. This lady from the line was praying. And this man went from not having a heartbeat to having a heartbeat. And it's miraculous whether or not he actually died. But that's our God. He's a God who heals. And so, in closing this morning, we're going to ask our prayer team to come forward, and we're going to open up the front of the room for healing. Do you need emotional healing? Do you need spiritual healing? Do you need physical healing? Are you separated from God and need to surrender your life to Christ? Come forward. Let someone pray for you, and let God heal you today. touch and your healing presence in this place, Lord God. We pray your hand touch lives today, just ministered powerfully to those who need your healing touch, God, because we want emotional wounds healed. We want physical healed. We want to see spiritual and religious wounds just healed up in people's lives so they can fully and wholly serve you with everything that they are. So God, we thank you. Continue to work once we leave this place. God, it's in your mighty name that we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, well, that concludes our service this morning. And so they will be setting up for the food distribution. We do have that tomorrow, so if you can help with that, we'd appreciate it. We are back on Wednesday night. We do have Wednesday night service this week, youth and the prayer service in the sanctuary.